Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. Never in doubt.
I knew you were going to say that. Never in doubt, Bruce. Never in doubt.
I should have
Although it
been
was
in
in doubt. It was in doubt. Yeah, I don't know what it's like in Boston, but I was gonna like the Team Canada wins, makes it to the final of the Four Nations face-off on the coldest day of the year in Edmonton, at least. It is cold.
Okay.
I got up early this morning to go play hockey, and oh man, it was cold. But Team Canada, Bruce, was hot. 5-3 win over Finland, Team Finland. And yeah, it looked like it was going to be a cakewalk. It was 4-0 for the longest of time, and then Canada let it get close, 4-3. But they held on. Bruce, let's do it. Two good things, two bad things, two numbers. What's your good thing?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the new line combinations that Coach John Cooper put together for this game. He took Seth Jarvis out of the lineup, reinserted Travis Konechny, which is just, I, I'm neither for nor against, but that was one personnel change he made. But he made four completely new lines. He put Connor McDavid with two right shots in Braden Point and Mark Stone. With Stone being a strong defensive player and a good guy at creating loose pucks and chaos, and Point being I think fantastic player. I really like that guy as a player.
He is, isn't he?
He's all over it in all parts of the ice. Like it's not like he's just offense only. He's on it. And he was on it today with a goal. Of course, Connor McDavid himself opened the scoring with a great goal, and also earned the second assist on the Point goal after making a beautiful pass to Sanheim. Anyway, so that new first line clicked. The new second line, they kept McKinnon and Crosby together, but put Sam Reinhart on that line. And I thought Sam Reinhart responded with a fantastic game. I thought he was really, really good in this game. And he, in fact, earned 3 assists and was +3 in this game. So the stat sheet seems to back that up. But he was sort of the right missing link for putting on that line. I think they'd had Stone there earlier.
Correct.
And Stone's a good player. But I think it seemed like Reinhardt fit the bill a little better in terms of just clicking, meshing with the two Cole Harbor boys. I still want to see a line with Marchand and the three Nova Scotians, but I don't suppose we will.
Oh,
Anyway,
I didn't know Marchand was from Nova Scotia.
Yeah, he's from right there too. He's from not far from Cole Harbor, at that little rougher neighborhood. He comes from a tougher background and beat the odds to make it. Anyway, that line connected for 3 goals in the end because McKinnon got the second and fourth goals, and then Crosby the fifth one with Reinhardt earning assists on all. And so the top 2 lines, the top 6, did all the scoring for Team Canada. But that said, the 2 bottom lines of, I don't know which was 3 and which was 4, but it was Cirelli with Hagel and Marner, and It was Bennett between Marchand and Konechny. And what they did for, let's say, the first 54 minutes of the game was spend an awful lot of time in Finland territory, controlling the puck on the cycle, on the grind. They weren't giving up anything, and they were constantly either putting the puck in good spots or keeping possession of it on the cycle. And in particular, I thought that Bennett, Marchand, Konechny line had a significant number of really good shifts and they created some chances, but what they did was, just push the play in Finland territory. When the puck's 200 feet from your net, it's not going to go into your net, and it's 200 feet from your net, and you have it. It's even less likely to go into your net, and that's what was largely was happening. I like the mesh. I thought Marner looked better with the Hagel Sorelli combination. Like they're effectively a checking line. And Mitch Marner, in addition to being a fantastic scorer, is a very fine checker, penalty killer type of player. And I thought he meshed better with them than he had earlier in the tournament playing with other stars. And so that subtle change of, I guess it was Marner for Reinhardt, and I think it served the team well in both players, sort of found themselves in a better place in terms of being able to help the team. And good on John Cooper. He took a couple games, but he's come up with a set of lines. Like I'd be surprised now if he changes this lineup or a set of line combinations for the final, which Canada is now guaranteed to be in. We've buried the lead here to against USA on Thursday with the never in doubt regulation win.
Yeah, in previous Team Canada victories, we've often seen teams work hard to come up with the right lines. It's been the rare one.
Yeah.
In '87, Lemieux and Gretzky were only, I think it was in the final 3 games against Russia, about maybe after the first game, that Gretzky and Lemieux were united for Team Canada. And of course, after that happened, they just took off. In '72, Phil Esposito took forever to find line mates for Phil Esposito. I don't know if they ever really did. He double shifted him, I guess. But Yvon Cornway eventually started to play a lot with Esposito,
He
and
scored with whoever.
he did. That Team Canada was players in and out of the lineup. It
Well,
was just
they had
nonstop.
35 guys on the
Yeah,
roster, remember?
yeah.
And so they were trying to give everybody a game. That was one of the problems with the games in Canada was they kept switching up. And when they got to Russia, they had a couple of guys quit the team and a couple other guys, that got hurt that weren't available. And it kind of shrunk the roster a little bit. And they decided hard feelings or no hard feelings, we're going to go with this core group of guys. And some pretty great players like Stan Mikita wound up on the outside looking in
So you got
as
to
that
do that
series went
though.
along. Yeah.
It has to happen, and you got
Well,
like I was hearing one commentator saying like there had been a line change, and they had were like I think they had changed McDavid's lines, and they're saying this is a lot of change. Like you can't. And I was thinking, no, you've got to change until you get it
until
right.
something clicks.
When you
Yeah.
get it right, you'll know. And tonight
Yeah.
we know. They finally, Bruce, they
Mhm.
finally got their heads around, I think, making McDavid the feature player on the team. And although he's not, there's 2 feature players. Initially, the one line was working for McKinnon really well with Crosby and Stone. That was the best line the first 2 games. They just totally miscast McDavid and Marner together. They're both drivers of the puck. Some people see Marner as I guess, a passer and a facilitator. No, he likes to carry the puck. So he's perfectly situated now with these 2 Tampa players who are more like two-way checkers. And not to diminish Brandon Hagel's play, especially. Brandon Hagel has been one of the best Canadian forwards and is definitely, in my mind, he's made the Olympic team. He has been outstanding, and he in the first period he broke up a slot play where Marner missed the check, and Hagel went in there, and I think it was stymied Barkov, who was going to
He's a
slam
hell
in
of a
a.
player, Hagel.
He is, and so I really they did put point with McDavid last game right at the end, and that was
Hmm.
what you need to be to play with Connor McDavid is, I think, in the end, super smart. You need to have high hockey intelligence, high hockey smarts, and both Stone and Braden Point do. Stone is big and aggressive and skilled, but really smart. And on the first goal, for instance, who's in front of the net? Mark Stone screening the goalie, and McDavid whips it in. Braden Point is also just a really, really smart hockey player. Those are the guys who thrive, like Nugent Hopkins, like Hyman. They thrive with McDavid, and they finally found a couple guys who think the game like McDavid does, or plays off the way McDavid plays, which is domination with the puck, drawing everyone to him. It opens up space if you're smart to go there. And you can also create space for McDavid by going to the net, which Stone does. And they needed to make that change. I was thinking it might be Marchand with Point heading into the tonight, but I think they might. Marchand's been struggling all tournament to put up grade A shots. And as good as those, I think those other two lines were good as well, but I think they only had one grade A shot between them on the creating it. That was Chiarelli, who broke in and got one. There was a lot of other good stuff. Yeah, so I agree, Bruce. The lines were great. My good thing is to win these tournaments. We've seen this again and again. To win these tournaments, Canada's great players have got to be great players. They've got to come through. And you know what? The fantastic thing is in most of the tournaments, 80% of the tournaments, our great players do come through and play some of their best hockey. We saw it with Esposito most, famously in 1972. We saw it in 84. More of a team effort in 84, but in 87, Gretzky and Lemieux, 2010 Crosby, and tonight McDavid and McKinnon both just took over this game with absolutely fantastic scoring plays. First, McDavid picking off the puck, driving in, circling back, and firing that great wrist shot through a screen and scoring. McKinnon taking a beautiful pass from Reinhart and busting in there and snapping in that goal. McKinnon again, Crosby working hard behind the net, over to Reinhart, back to Crosby, right out to McKinnon, who slams it in the net. And just before that, it was Braden Point's goal with McDavid charging up the ice, putting a pass over to Travis Sanheim, who shoots on net, rebound, and Point is there to score. There was also examples throughout the game of McDavid and McKinnon playing really strong defensive hockey and getting the job done. So, and the third superstar, Cale Makar, was back in the game. He had kind of a high event game, but he
sure changes the equation.
He changes
doesn't he?
He does. Yeah, he's just such a fine puck mover, smart puck mover. It was sad, actually, the puck moving in Saturday night's game from the Team Canada defense. And it sparked a lot of Oiler fans who were thinking, why isn't Evan Bouchard on this team, including these two Oiler fans? The puck moving was not nearly good enough to win. And it's still going to be an issue against, there's some issues with, like there is with every Team Canada. It's not a perfect team. And, well, a few of them have been near perfect teams, but, a few of them have been absolutely dominating. There was that, 2014, I think, was just an absolutely dominating team at Sochi Olympics, for instance. But Makar it was crucial for him to be in this game. And he and Taves really did play. Devon Taves, they really did play. Is it Devon Taves or Devon Taves? I still don't know.
I'll say Devon, yeah.
They do, eh? So they really are a great pairing, and it does speak to the need in these short tournaments to bring teammates together, to bring lines together, although that doesn't always work either. But these two guys are working well together.
Yeah, I'll just throw in the name of one other sort of forgotten superstar on your list here, Sidney Crosby. And the great play he made, too. And the sort of instant angst that developed in the 59th minute when the 4-1 lead suddenly became 4-3 and there was still a full minute on the clock. And they put Crosby's line out there, and Michael Granlund, who had scored both of those goals, received a pass at center ice, and Sid just absolutely demolished him with an open ice body check and knocked him down. The puck came loose. Reinhart picked it up and shoveled it to Crosby, and he just sort of lobbed it just from the red line and hit the net. 5-3, game over basically at that point. But empty net goal from center, so not exactly elite offensive play, but it was an elite play. fact, too. I would say making the shot was not exactly a given, but making that hit was unexpected, but very effective.
Bruce, what is your bad thing?
Yeah, my bad thing is Canada's inability to close this game out. Honestly, David, I was like so totally confident, even in the second period, it was 4-0, and they're just doing everything right, rolling those lines, and spending a lot of time in the Finland territory, and then the Finns got one left with what 7 minutes to go. Bad angle shot by Esa Lindell, not exactly a noted goal scorer, but a great shot. But from a bad angle, we deemed it a grade B shot. He wired in off the far post. It's like 4-1, cruise to the finish. Well, apparently Canada was thinking the same thing. And Finland had other ideas. They pulled the goalie with 5 minutes left. And Canada never seemed to ever get the puck after that on the 6-on-5. It was just every puck battle, Canada would lose it. They didn't get any sort of plays where they're breaking out. And you think, well, we're going to score now. They have to net goal to make it 5-1 and put this thing away. No. McKinnon had one chance that he shot from the wrong side of center, trying to go for the hat trick. Other than that, Canada didn't have the puck a whole hell of a lot, and they didn't make a lot of great decisions, including, I would submit, Coach John Cooper, who went away from the Lions that had such a great game together. And he had on the ice for the 4-2 goal with 1:40 to play. The forward line was Marner with Point and Stone, kind of three right wingers. That's kind of a weird line. And with Marner in what had been McDavid's spot throughout the game, but not playing the same position. And I'm not sure they exactly were sure who was that where. So then they put McDavid out after that, but with different line mates, Cirelli and Hagel. And it was only 23 seconds later that Finland scored a second time to make it 4-3 with a suddenly very long-looking minute 17 on the clock. And Canada have been so efficient melting clock, but those last minutes just became nightmarish up until when Sid made his big play. But I just don't quite understand what happened to the control. There was a couple of failed clearances. A couple of times the guy just tried to make what should be NHL standards these days, an easy dump up and over the blue line, have the puck, like I call them punts, where they just dump the puck, give up possession of the puck to gain territory. It has the same effect as a punt in football. It kind of looks like one when you lob it, right? And couldn't get those done. And it was just like there was, I call it a lack of finish, not around the net, but to the actual hockey game, where I think it's like they thought it was in the bag. And anyway, thankfully Sid had the answer to that, and he made the last 56 seconds or whatever a little more tolerable. But it was unconvincing, and it left me coming out of this game with a few doubts about how they're going to be able to hold off the Americans, who have a deeper, stronger team than the Finns do. And all due respect to the plucky Finns, who lived up to their reputation yet again by hanging around somehow in this game that seemed like they were getting blown out and making it very tense. And of course, if they tied it up and the game went to overtime, even a subsequent Canada win changes everything, because that puts Sweden back into the mix. But now Canada's got 5 points, Sweden has 2. Even if Sweden beats the Americans in regulation tonight, it doesn't matter by what score, because the tiebreaker is who won the Canada-Sweden game. And of course, that was Canada scoring the winning goal in overtime by the much maligned Mitch Marner.
He's not been great, but it's easy to pick on him because he didn't work with McDavid. I thought tonight he was better, and he made a few nice plays, and even the one where people were on him because he missed that one in the slot that Hagel had to get. He was looking like it wasn't a terrible play. He was looking the other way to cover someone. He was trying to cover someone. He just
or
looked the wrong
defensively.
way.
Mhm.
Yeah, defensively. And then the guy steamed in there, but Hagel got him anyway. But Bruce, I want to circle back to the first point you made about Cooper changing up the lines. I didn't like that at all. I thought it threw
I
the
didn't
whole team
understand it.
off. And listen, you have two lines which have dominated this game. And these are
Well,
all
four
players,
almost.
well, two lines. The two lines have soldered off, and
Mhm.
you have two lines that are dominant lines. Your top two lines, the McKinnon line and the McDavid lines, and just throw them out, put them out
Mhm.
over the boards. Get those guys out over the boards. Listen, they might be worried, like I don't know, like that they're offensive specialists, but no, they're all used to playing in the last minute of a game. All these players, Stone, McKinnon, McDavid, Reinhart, Crosby, they're that's what they do. So why don't you just throw those two lines out? I didn't. It was like, what's going on
Mhm.
here? This is just a mess, and I don't know what he did with
Mhm.
his defensive partners, but I think he might have done the same thing. I think he might have kind of not as sure about that. But Bruce,
Yeah. Well, it was, and then after the two goals against the mismatched lines, he went back to uh, McKinnon, Crosby, and Reinhardt, and they scored. The puck
yeah,
never even got over center, and they scored. So, I mean, obviously tiny sample size here, but the evidence to me suggests stick with your lines there, chum, and they were doing the job for you. And in the end, one of those lines, finally put the finishing touches on it.
uh, my bad thing is the Doug Armstrong connection. I'm going to call it, and I just want to preface this by saying, like, I really am grateful and I admire all of these players who are showing up to play for Canada. Like so in terms of criticism of the players, when you're selected for the team, you should go and they do go. The Canadians have the best record for all of these tournaments, like volunteer tournaments. So many other countries have players that like droves opting out. It's been not that big an issue with Team Canada's, and it wasn't this time either. So any player who's picked goes, and I admire all these players, and I think they're doing a great job, as Canadian patriots, that kind of thing. But it's up to the GM to pick the right players for the tournament, and I just think he just got a little. He played it like a homer. He picked two players who peaked in 2019 when they won the Stanley Cup off his own team, off the St. Louis Blues, Colton Parayko and let's get this name right, Jordan Binnington, not Craig
Billington.
Billington, Jordan Binnington, and it's left them in a. They're still decent NHL players, both guys. They still have good moments, but man, they have struggled in this tournament, both of them. And Pareko more than any other defenseman. So we're doing grade A shots plus minus at even strength. Pareko's -10. His
Whoa.
partner Morrissey's -5.
Hmm.
And everyone else is Taves is -4, McCarr's -1, Harley's -2, Doughty's +1, and Sanheim and Theodore are even. So Pareko's an outlier in a significant way, and I just see him struggling with the pace of this game of the play and to make passes. So and then Binnington, just when he looks like he's got it nailed down, he starts letting in weak goals and this like iffy goals. Like there's one that comes in from an angle, a sharp angle. It was a hell of a shot. I think this was the first goal,
Yeah,
and it was a hell of a shot. But man, it's just another one. Like a goal, NHL goalie will make that save
usually.
90% of the time.
Mhm.
It's a 10% shot in the NHL. It's not a grade A shot, and it was you know and then on another play, I don't know if he dropped his stick on purpose or if it got knocked out of his hand, but he didn't have his stick in his hand. I think that was the second goal, and and then it's 4-2. So yeah, he's made some big saves, but it's just hard to believe that were the best choices for Canada. And heading into the game against the United States, this is what I'm worried about. And a lot of fans are. You can see it online. There's lots of talk. And, there's Chris Pronger saying, everyone, oh, you guys are all jumping off, the bandwagon for Team Canada, stand up for your team. Listen, we were complaining about this months ago when the team was first announced, and to have our fears validated, because I don't think we're being unfair. We're just noting what's going on with this team, and there are problems with this team, and they essentially have to do with two or three or four players who were iffy picks at the time, and haven't in my mind done anything to dispel that. And it's a problem for this team Canada, and it could cost them the tournament.
Yeah, Parayko, he's having a pretty good year out there in St. Louis. He's already got a career high for goals of 12. And nice bounce back from, I think the last couple of years were less great for him, but and he's made some good plays, but he has been burned, and his outlet passing isn't great. Like he'll make the odd one, but he won't make them on an as consistent basis as a good puck moving defender does. He's kind of an all round guy with a greasy edge to him, and I guess they wanted that on the team, but he looks sometimes overmatched depending on how high skill the group is that he's playing against in any given moment.
I would have preferred to see Harley in today. Like, he played, I thought, fairly well, although he was kind of high event too. He was really good on the attack though against the tough USA team. And so yeah, Thomas Harley. Anyway, so here's what I hope, Bruce. I hope Parayko and Binnington show us all up, all the naysayers, which I am, and they just they shut it down defensively, which is both of their jobs against Team USA, and I'm sure rooting for them. I want this team to win,
especially
like
Parayko.
Crazy. I want them to win. Yeah, Parayko especially.
I'm no fan of Jordan Binnington, but Colton Parayko is a good St. Albert boy. Plus, I have him in my keeper league. I mean, what's not to like?
That's how you know his goal scoring this year. He's a good player. It's just like, anyway, struggling a bit. I think Sanheim actually one of the guys that I was suspicious of being on the team was Sanheim, but he actually played fairly well.
He looked all right to my eye.
Yeah, he did. And Hagel I didn't know a whole lot about, but so that's one that they got right. They have had a few kind of picks that were a bit questionable. People questioned. A few of them have turned out, but I think they could have done a little better. Bruce, what's your number?
Number. Geez, I'm not sure I had one. You go ahead with your number, David, while I drum one up here.
Well, as people know, we track grade A shots, and who makes mistakes on grade A shots against, and who contributes to grade A shots for. And on the Team Canada this year, I talked about how superstars have to lead the way. And I'm going to compare this Team Canada. I've done a few historical analysis, 1972 team and the 3 games against the Soviet Union in 1987. And the top 3 plus players in terms of grade A shots plus minus on Team Canada. Number 3, Connor McDavid, 12-4, three mistakes on grade A shots against, so he's +9. McKinnon, 13-3, +10. And number 1, Mark Stone, 15-2 for +13. It's not surprising actually to see wingers a little, they have a bit of an advantage over centers because they don't have as much defensive responsibility, and they're less likely to make a defensive mistake. So those numbers are really good. But I tracked them in, here we go. Team Canada 87, Bruce, in those 3 games. Mario Lemieux in the 3 games, it was +21, and Wayne Gretzky was +15. In those 3 games, Bruce, Wayne Wayne Gretzky averaged 14 major contributions to grade A shots per game. 14 a game. When we watch a hockey game, and if anyone gets 10 or more, that is remarkable. It happens like, let's say, once every 10 games that a player will get on the Oilers with McDavid and Draisaitl will get more than 10 major contributions. And Gretzky averaged 14. Lemieux was at 13. 13, chipping in on 13 grade A shots per game in those 3 games. And they were by far, like they doubled. Gretzky was double. Glenn Anderson was next at 7 major contributions to grade A shots per game. So they were just unbelievably dominant. Yeah. And in 1972, that series, the top guy was Phil Esposito. It was Paul Henderson, who had even strength, was plus 29 in 8 games. Esposito was plus 28, and Bobby Clark plus 26, Ivan Cornway plus 25. Phil Esposito chipped in on 8.4 grade A shots per game against that Russian team. So
but a little more suspect defensively, eh? Like
Phil
he was plus 29 in 8 games, and he was plus 8.4 per game. He must have been about -5 per game, or close to it, for chances against. Anyway, Bobby Clark, he was on a line with Paul Henderson and Ron Ellis for much of that tournament. And they were primarily a checking line, but a very fine one with 3 very hardworking players, including 2 honest grinders and one of the dirtiest players in the history of hockey, but very much a grinder. And they were no fun to play against.
So remember, we had Gretzky at 14.3 grade A shots per game, chipping in on. Mark Stone is the leading Canadian so far in the 3 games. He's at 5.3 per game.
Wow.
So the offensive thrust of the Canadian team, this is much more tight checking hockey than was seen in 87 or in 72. Like the sophistication of defensive play has gone through the roof since then. So Mark Stone leads the way at 5.3. with McKinnon 4.7 and McDavid at 4.3. Connor McDavid, when he's on the Oilers, averages about between 6 and 7 grade A shots, chipping in on 6 or 7 grade A shots per game, and he's at 4.3. So this has been a very tough, tight checking series. That game, in this particular game, what do we have the grade A shots at? Do you have that up?
I sure can. And we had a 13-11 for Finland for grade A's and 7-6 for Canada for 5 alarms.
Subset of 5 alarms, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty tight checking game. That's very I think that those Canada-Russia games in 87, they would have had about 20 grade A shots each, those 2 teams in those games. So that was a different style of hockey than we're seeing now. And it's going to be I suspect it'll be a really close game decided by 1 goal on Thursday. And Canada really needs to shut it down on defense like they kind of haven't been able to do so far this tournament.
Yeah, well, they had to win in regulation today to pave their way in.
Yeah.
Not need any help from the United States, which would have been an iffy proposition. And so they got that part of the job done. So they're in the final. They're going to be the visiting team. They won't have last change or anything because I finished with fewer points than USA already. USA's got at least 6 and could wind up with 9. And tonight's game could be a bit of a snoozer. I noticed as an aside that Sweden has chosen to, they're calling it healthy scratch, 2 players tonight, Mattias Ekholm and Victor Arvidsson, the 2 Edmonton Oilers. And both those guys will be watching this game from on high as the plan. And how healthy they are, I don't know. I don't think Ekholm's been healthy for a month.
Yeah, he's got
he
a
still
bad cold.
Sounds like hell. And I heard him interviewed, and he's still got this high, hoarse voice. And I think he's still dealing with a thing or two. Whatever that thing one that was running through the Oilers was not fun, but he had it worse than anybody, I think. Anyway, that's two more reasons not to watch the game tonight, because it frankly is completely meaningless unless you're scouting the Americans, and even then you're not going to really get an honest look at them because they're going to be rolling the lines, and they're playing Jake Ottinger. They're giving uh, Keith or Matthew Tkachuk the game off. Yeah, Ottinger is going to play over Hellebuck, but Tkachuk, they're resting, and they're resting McAvoy as well.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Why?
Yeah. So it won't, this will be a dry run for them, and I don't suppose they'll be giving up any secrets about how they're playing that last game. David, for my number, I got nothing real dramatic from this game. Finland with slight edge in the underlying numbers and score effects and so on. Like, there's not really much to pull from that. I'm going to go with this one, 9 out of 13. And that's in the history of best on best hockey, which started, well, it's kind of started in 72 with the Summit Series, but there was only 2 teams, so I'm not counting that. Tournaments of best on best from 1976 through 2016, which was the last one, 9 years ago. So it's all ancient history. There's been 13 such tournaments now, 5 Olympics, and I think 5 Canada Cups and 3 World Cups, which are essentially the same tournament with a changed name around mid-90s. In those 13 tournaments, Canada has won 9 of the 13 tournaments. Best on best, 3 out of 5 Olympics, 6 out of 8 World or Canada Cups. Now, this is a different level of tournament. I would suggest lower than either of the other two, with less sort of real meaning to it. But Canada's got a pretty good record, and when we can roll our best out there, and like to hope that they'll be able to prove that again on Thursday.
Yeah, it's hard to make a prediction because you just don't know. You're just guessing. But Bruce, I think
predict the bounce of the puck, David.
I think yeah, the puck is round, the ice is slippery. I think that
puck is round and flat.
Yeah, and I think that the United States was riding pretty high. Standing up for their anthem, fighting for it, and the response in America, they just went nuts. They were treating the Tkachuk brothers like they were the second coming of George Washington down there. They had U.S. senators and congressmen, Bruce. Yeah, they had the U.S. senators and congressmen weighing in on this and thumping their chests. That's good. I'm glad that they celebrated so hard. I have a feeling that there's going to be kind of a steely determination from Team Canada in this game, and I think we're going to see our best game from Team Canada, and if they can get some goaltending, they're going to win this game. They're going to go hard at Hellebuck. They know what they were doing wrong, I think, about not doing that, and they're going to take it to the Americans, and they're going to beat them on Thursday. That's my prediction.
Well, I predicted a split of the 2 games, as you'll recall, and I mentioned it in the last podcast. So hopefully that just plays through. When the 2010 Olympics, USA beat Canada in the round robin game 5-3, and they outplayed us, as I recall. But of course, when it came down to the rematch in the all the marbles gold medal game, it was Canada with Sid Crosby's gold medal goal that won the day. And one other round robin game that kind of came to my attention here recently was the one in '96 in the World Cup, where USA did go on to win the World Cup. And in the round robin game, there was 2 fights in the first 30 seconds of the first period. Sound familiar? And the 2 perps on the USA side of the equation were Bill Guerin, at that point a future Oiler, and now the general manager of Minnesota Wild and Team USA. And the other fight was none other than Keith Tkachuk. So, like father, like sons, gooned it up in the first shift of the game against Canada. Keith did in '96, and both Matthew and Brady did in the first 3 seconds of the game on Saturday night, and it. I don't think we'll be seeing any of that kind of shenanigans on Thursday with everything on the line. I think it'll be hard hockey, but it'll be hockey.
Yeah, the Boston crowd actually, in terms of the Canadian anthem, didn't.
Very
There was a few.
respectful
There was a few
today.
scattered boos, but it was more cheering than booing. And we'll see what it is. Canada against USA. That'll be interesting. Maybe it'll be Canada that comes out fired
Mhm.
up from having their
Yeah.
anthem disrespected. But I don't know if that plays any part in it anyway for the players.
Yeah.
Bruce, let's leave it there. Thank you for talking today.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.